This is the Amstrad Mega PC. It's a PC and then it's a Mega Drive, and by simply pushing this door from one side to the other you can switch between the two systems. A curious combination of things, to say the least. Taking a closer look, you can see that this one is not in the best of health. There's a little left and right switch just underneath here which controls whether you go into the PC side or the Mega Drive side of things, which can take both the cartridges, the European and the USA ones. Nice big square opening, which kind of helps. And you can see down there you've got a reset button and the volume control, which incidentally goes all the way across underneath there, because when you go over this side it's a bit of the same thing. It's still the same volume control, but with another thing for you to press. The usual standard Amstrad floppy disk drive system in place. We'll spin it around now and we'll take a look at a few more ports, because there's got to be a bit of work involved into this one for just one simple job. A little bit of a dent on top, and I'll try not to drop it on the floor, because these things are getting sought after and quite rare now. Taking a look, we've got the power input and output, so you can power up the monitor at the same time when you switch it on and off. And we've got a volume control. Then you've got two separate joystick ports, which for the PC side of things. Then you've got your printer and your usual ports, your expansion bay, etc. Not sure what that's for, but I know that you've got your sound card at the top and your Ethernet, and a button there which changes from, I believe, 60 Hz to 50 Hz potentially. I am not 100% sure, even though I fitted it with a sound booster card as well, so it gives it great sound. So what have I got to do with this? Well, I'm going to turn it round again and I'll explain. You can probably tell that Ruthless Rust has got hold of this a little bit and has caused a phenomenal amount of damage, not only on the outside but a little bit on the inside as well. The damage on the inside is not life-threatening to the machine. Unfortunately, for the Mega side of things, and what I'll have to do is I'll have to drop that down and I can zoom in. Take a look at the joystick port. Yeah, you can see those three pins have been pushed in, and they're going to do nothing now, and it's a rather nasty rusty connection, and I'm being attacked by a ginger monster. Ain't I? Get away. So I've got to strip all of this down basically, and to strip it down you can do the work for me. No, you're just gonna put all your ginger hairs over my black clothes, aren't you? Yeah. It's going to take hours, because to get to the actual board you've got to take every part of this apart, really. You've got to take the sides off, the back off, everything that's situated on top of it, in order to desolder them to replace them. With these DB Knight connectors, I've got two types in here. You've got the ones that go through hole, which I'm hoping will be fine, but I've also got a other type. I usually find them, there you go, you can just about make out the different type of pins where you can solder wires to. Yeah, but the through hole we want, and I've got enough. I don't know if I'm going to bother trying to change the ones on the actual PC. I'll judge it as I go, but I will be needing to change this in order to make it more accessible for people to play games on it in public, because without a Mega Drive and you know, having the facility to play games without the joystick ports it's pointless, so it needs a bit of work. Now I'm going to try and time lapse a video of me disassembling it just to get the muffler board out in order to do a simple bit of desoldering, then reassembling it. Could take up to 4 to 5 hours. It's not a fast job. In fact, because I'm filming it may even take longer. Well, we need to get started, and let's set the video up to time lapse and get to work. Incidentally, something I neglected to mention, the fact that those pins have pushed out means there may be some damage to the actual board they're soldered into, which is not good. And I can now show you, because I've learned how to take this off. If I take that off there, you see how that's slightly reinforced that side and slightly reinforced that side. The switching mechanism is that basically it pushes against there and changes it over as you move the door across. So might have to do some patchwork on repairing the circuit board. I'm hoping not, but you never know. It's a good chance. If it's pushed the pins through, it's pushed it through the PCB itself and lifted the tracks away from the PCB, which, you know, could be a bit of a pain to fix, or it could be straightforward. While I'm in there, I might as well take the time to check out all the capacitors. I'm not to upset any capacitor police, would say. If they are good capacitors and they're still reading good values, then I'm not going to change them. I'm not going to put the PC board through any unwarranted stress. However, if they look blown or they're not giving the right values or readings, then I will change them. I don't believe in changing components that are still working just because you can. If the capacitor's got a shelf life of 10 years, some capacitors can probably, depending on what sort of workload they had and what sort of environment they've been kept in, can probably double or even triple the lifetime of the capacitor itself. You know, empathy isn't that severe. The processor time isn't that bad on capacitors all of the time. It all depends on whether they're next to any pretty component that can get pretty hot. So obviously the hotter the component, the more stress the capacitor's going to take, isn't it? Or if they've gone leaky, you can usually quite easily tell. Right, as you can probably tell, I had a bit of a fight getting this out. Well, the good news is there's going to be no damage to the PCB itself. The bad news is you can see what's going on there. Give you a chance. As they've pushed down, they've bent some pins over. Now, what that's going to be a problem with is there's some pins extended out to my DB9 connectors. So I may have to just run some, well, extra wires down there. I'll explain more. Just a moment. What I'll do is I'll show you what I mean. If you notice, oops, I'll throw it to you, the pin length for those DB9 connectors. Well, imagine when that's sitting on there. How do I do this? I need something to prop it up while I film. If that is sitting on there, you can see they're not going to reach the board. So obviously what they've done is they've put some sort of an extension thing in order to reach the board, and like a little pin that solders onto those pin headers, and that's been pushed over and all bent up. So when I desolder all of these, it may pay me to put this type of connector in where I can solder some header pins onto that and then push them into the board like so. The first thing I've got to do is try and figure out how to, well, desolder the one, let alone two, but I've got to do them both because there's no point in just doing one. So let's get to work on it, eh? Well, we've got to take it apart. As you can see, with those bent pins the way they are, might be a bit of a pig to desolder. We'll start by taking this bracket off, and we're going to keep these screws on the table. Hopefully things will become clearer. I'm glad these are here, but at the same time I'm a bit worried that they won't be able to thread into there because they're a bit loose. So it may be a replacement with a nut and bolt type situation. I'll see if I can find a nut to fit the end of these, because obviously this bit's threaded. Or, as the case may be, I can probably reuse the plastic part underneath. Well, that remains to be seen. I can definitely see that we're going to have some difficulties in desoldering this. I've got the trusty soldering irons sparked up and ready to go. All I've got to remember is we're going to put the solder. And they've got a couple of pins on that, as you can see there. Focus the other way. They're bent over, so why they do that all the time is just to secure it on the board, I think. But on this occasion they didn't really need to do that. So if I can just bend those pins up very gently by heating that up, yeah, I'll straighten the one, that was good. It'll just make desoldering this a little bit easier. And I know my hand was in the way there, but this bit's just a little bit too big for this job, and I'm damaging the circuit board very slightly. Well, I've scratched it, if anything. I've scratched it. But it don't really matter because it's underneath and you're not going to see it. So in order to desolder these well, this looks like it's unleaded. I'm going to just go over. I'll get a better picture for you. There we go, as you can see there. I'm just going to go over the joints with a bit of fresh solder. Like so. A bit of a splash. Should be a delight to work on, you'd think, wouldn't you? I'm worried about a bit of a solder block between them. Don't matter. As long as I've reflowed them. I probably could do with changing one bit because this bit is too big. Yeah, let's do the other one. I mean, I don't know, well, you can see that. I mean, you can see that bent pin there at the top. Well, obviously when you're pulling on things like that, it's not going to go down well on the board, so we have to straighten the thing out. Well, in this case, it's just broke clean off. That's not a problem, because we're not using these extender pins. I'm going to create some of my own. Hopefully, we're going to test that in a minute. Yeah, okay. In fact, I'm doing all this desoldering, and a lot of things I can just literally unclip. I can just cut them loose, and I think I will do that actually. I think I'll just cut them loose because I'm not going to reuse anything in particular there. So yeah, I could just literally slice them all. It's just I wouldn't be able to get my blade, my side cutters into that all the way in. Let's have a look, see if I can. See if I can get my side cutters in. I'll get it for the top row. Oh, they're just loosely on, are they? Okay. We can get it for the bottom row as well, I reckon. Well, you can see that we're just cutting along the edges here. There you go. It's going to be easier to desolder the pins, you see. You can see how that's pushed out, can't you? Well, that's loose. Can I get the other side? Yeah, I can. This is just going to fall off. There we go. That's one down. That's two down. Yeah, so there's the original pin still stuck on. They've been pushed down, and you can see these ain't going to be too much good for anything now, but hopefully we can probably use the plastic bits underneath. What I've done here is I've broken these off because I can use these standoffs, because I have noticed that the footfall, if you know what I mean, the length is a little bit similar. So when I put these standoffs on here like so, that should give me the right length for the board with the bolts in them to hold them in place. So that may be handy, and I'm hoping that works. But now with all that fresh solder on, let's see how well this desolders. I'm going to need to change my soldering bit. I'm not happy with the size of that soldering bit. It's way too big. Because this is going to be hot, I'm not going to want to do this by hand. So I have a handy pair of pliers on me, long nose ones. You shouldn't do this, you should let it cool down because of the expansion and all of that. That's going to be red hot now, so we'll just place that down gently somewhere. That's still hot. I'll put that down. Right, see if we can find a viable bit for the job. The right bit for the job, and not the one I've just took off. No harm done, no damage. I felt the heat before it had a chance to burn me. I think that will do it. Okay, that should be fine. They cool down pretty quickly, to be fair. Yeah, I want to get it while it's still hot. It doesn't have too long to warm up. No, well, you can see that. As you can see, I'm just turning that. Give it a little twist and tighten because it's hot and it's expanded, so it might work loose. You know, careful. And switch my soldering iron on. I'm using this at around about 440. I don't normally go between 430 440 myself. And of course, I'm just cleaning my solder tip off nice and steady, ready for a bit of desoldering action to take place. And we'll turn it around so you get a good view. And good thing is I'm not going to need the solder sucker, because I'll be able to wick up most of this, but I will need good clean holes in order to get a reasonably good job. So yeah. Now waiting for the soldering iron to catch up in temperature. Doesn't take too long. You see, as soon as I can see solder melt, then I know I'm in action. Yeah, we're in action. Bit of solder on the end of these should do it. I'll start with one I can't get to. Now I'm using some tweezers to hold it. I'll put that against the pin. Now it's hot, but I can't grow it. That's got it. There we go. This will get easier the more pins I got off. And there we go. The good thing about this, because you can see that you're only desoldering, you're not going to do any trace damage. Famous last words won't. There we go. Now let's get to that one. Oh, it's coming quicker than you realise. Hopefully, yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, it's getting really, yeah, oh, there's a pin on this there. It's getting quite easy to take these out now. Probably because the soldering iron's warmed up a bit more as well. So maybe a bit too premature on the first attempt. Now you think I've got a bad aim, but when you're only looking through one eye, and because I've got my jeweler's loop in, you lose that perspective of depth, if you know what I mean, distance. Because you use two eyes to perceive distance. There we go. Of course, it's sticking to the soldering. Okay, we've got a leg that's stuck there. Hopefully my hand's not in the way and you can see this quite clearly. Yep. Come on then. Isn't it funny how the last one's always going to be awkward? Isn't it? Weird. Why is that awkward? I'm just checking to see if it's bent over or anything. It's not. It's just been a bit of a pig. Come on. Yes, it's been a real pig at the moment. Got it, yeah. Okay, the holes are not cleared, but all the pins are out. So, wipe away all this excess, or brush away. And let's see what we can do on clearing all of those out. And what I'll probably do now, I don't know how well you can see, is I'm going to fill the holes full of fresh solder, so that when I power up the desoldering station, it should fly through it. Hopefully this won't take too long. Because obviously preparation of the board is the key here. I've lifted no traces at all. 1, 2. Now you've got to give it something to start sucking on, if you know what I mean. Nice big blob of solder. It allows the heat to penetrate all the way through the hole. No, that's a good blob on there. I don't mind that though. You might find there's some huge blobs underneath here, which is not bad. And that's a good blob. Like, because I could just bring it down and run it all over. Look, hey, that's called solder football. Well, that should be. Oh Christ, tell even calm down yet. Cooled down, calm down. And look at the blobs on that side. That should make sucking all the junk out fairly easy. Make sure that the sounds clear, sounds ready to action. Ooh, look at the soldering station. A dry tool. They're good. They're not the best tool on the market, but they're adequate to do any desoldering job. The only thing is they do need a lot more love and care. You know, in other words, you need to keep cleaning the nozzle every 5 minutes. Yeah. And if you don't, you tend to get a big build up. I've got a lot of salt in there actually. It's about time I cleaned it out. Right. Now I've switched it on. I've decided I'm going to clean the thing on. This is the better angle because you've got like I don't know if you can see it. You've got a latch there that clips it off. But yeah, that's ready I think. Let's see how well we clear these. They look really, they've come out really nice. I can show you while they've cleared, because I can show you on camera. You can see all the way through the holes. So yeah, you've cleared out. Obviously I'm going to need to wipe it down with a bit of isopropyl alcohol, or I just call it IPA. Most people like to go isopropyl alcohol. And I get sick of the amount of times that that's mentioned on video, you know. So I'm only going to mention it that I use it once. I use, and everybody knows, anyone who does any type of electrical work, you tend to clear off all your components using IPA every time to get rid of any flux residue or any blobs of solder. It can actually unstick them that shouldn't be there. Just floating around loose on the motherboard. You know, you do get these things just. Now it sounds like my dray tool is blocked, so I'm going to put this to one side, bearing in mind that's still hot. I'm going to clean it out, just because it needs cleaning out now and no other reason. And as I say, these are not easy to take apart sometimes, and I can see the blockage there, so I might be able to pull it from this side. No, it's going to need a prong, and this is what the prong's supposed to do, is you push that into the top end there. And where they get stuck in this, it's never usually at the tip, you know. I mean, I can't believe my name to save my life at the moment. There we go. It's always at the end where the solder's sort of, there you go, see that? Just come flicking out. where there's nothing to heat it up and the solder sort of calms down, or shall we say cools down. I call it calms down. Don't know why, it seems to be a new word I've come up with for this job. That's cleared that end out, that's ready. I'll put that to one side, and if I take this apart now, you will see quite a bit of solder come out, to be fair. Yeah, that's quite a bit of solder. Wow. Wayne, note to yourself, clean it out more often, will you? Yeah. Okay. Right, as I've got a lot of cleaning up to do, unfortunately, I'm going to pause the video here, I think, and do that off camera. Because I wish I had cleaned my desoldering station before I started the job. But I don't like doing it every time. It's just pointless. A little tip here, get your hot air station with all that solder there. Get it on a high degree. And I'm going to go for something silly. There we go, and you should be able to melt most of that away. And don't worry, by the time it melts, the heat's not going to travel. This spring doesn't conduct heat. That's the whole idea of it, really. So you should be able to get this really hot without burning your fingers. Unless you touch the actual solder itself. I wouldn't recommend that. Good thing, the springy action helps shake it a little bit. There we go. See it just dropping off. Immensely satisfying. Yeah, that was a big drop. There we go. Wow. Yeah, as that slowly melts through, there's going to be a big splash in a minute. There you go. There we go. That's pretty much done it. I'm going to leave that to one side for a minute while that cools down. Just leave it there on the actual there. In fact, that'll still be something more, actually it isn't. You can see it's lifted up my my mat slightly. Oops. There we go. Just brushing it all off, ready to go in the bin. My bin tends to be a bit of a bucket. Oh, I can turn the hot air station off now. There we go. And just push that into there. Happy days. Yeah, so there we go. It cools down quickly because it's a spring. That's still dry. It's actually dried out some of the flux can get quite sticky and cause it to block as well. Well, if I've done that, it'd be a crime not to clean that out, wouldn't it, to be honest? It's a simple thing to clean out, really, because you just slip. All I tend to do is I'll push it hard against the get myself a couple of earbuds, or Q-tips as some people call them, slop some IPA in. Before the IPA has a chance to run away, get down there with that and just brush up the sides. And then that clean it out nicely. A lot of flux residue gets in this, causing it to stick to the glass. And look at that. See that? I'm not going to waste that IPA, I'm going to use it to clean it a bit more. That's good enough for me, to be fair. When I pull a rag through it, it's going to do an even better job. I might pull a rag through it, but as I can see, there's nothing for the solders to stick to now. It's getting kind of clear. There's a big pool of mess I need to let the IPA evaporate dry up, and I will simply just push this rag through it, and you might be able to see the process actually. I'll just feed that in, like so. Good old twist. When you get it so far, you can almost pull it out, you know. And that does it. Look at that. That's almost as good as new. You know, my little finger almost fits in there. There we go. Now we can see there's a bit of gunk in the top end of that, so let's clear that out. That's the last place I want to see solder getting stuck in. Yeah, and clear that out. There we go, nice and clear. In fact, what I'll do is I'll get some IPA on the inside of here to try and stop any solder sticking on the inside. There we go, around the edge. And now what I'm going to do is reassemble this. Start by putting that spring into there. That should twist onto that like cap sort of thing, and then I'll just push it down and on. Now, nice clear desoldering station. Remember, the front end is hot and the back end isn't. And while I've got it, you can hear some sizzling now. Just clearing the end off here, so you're going to hear some sizzling, but obviously with there not being anything to suck the solder through at the moment, because you need the vacuum, just give it one last push. There we go, a big blob of solder come out there. That was stuck in the shaft of the desoldering station a little bit, and click that off. Okay. Yeah, when the solder starts sticking to the end up here, it's usually because there's flux that's been sucked up and becomes like a jelly sticky substance and causes the solder to stick on the end, which is not what you want. Make sure that's clean. That's cool. Then I'll just push that end into there. These are not easy to reassemble. This is a better gun than the first gun that came with it, simply because it's got a latching mechanism. Gotta keep my way off because I haven't switched it off. I don't want to burn myself. Else I'll be holding that front end to do this. There we go. We're in. Push it in. Give it a twist. Make sure it's nice. Air seal. And that sounds like it's ready to fight for another day. Lots of mess on the old bench. Solder blobs, all this has got to be cleared. Because any of this gets on the bottom of a circuit board can cause problems. You know, you could end up bridging a couple of traces with a bit of solder you've picked up off the workbench, which wouldn't be good. I'm just rambling on there, ain't I? Because I'm working here, I'm cleaning here too. Oops, I knocked my camera over. Oh, I've done a good clean there. Anyway, back to desoldering, shall we? You can see this happening in real time. Real time soldering. Okay. Well, it's cleared all the holes really nicely. Very nicely indeed. That is all the desoldering I'm going to need to do, so I can turn off the desoldering station. And I'm going to give this a clean. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. Just the people, honestly, they love you. They love you saying the word. Cool, that side. Nice. Very nice. Shall I say it? Yeah, no, I'm not going to say it. IPA. Oh, there, I've said it. Oh. There you go. That's like a brand new board, isn't it? Yeah, almost. Oh, well, you can see there. The only way I can do it is get some light behind it, look. Yeah, look. See the light? That's what you're talking about. That's a clear hole for you. No solder, nothing in the way. Ready for me to have a play. Now, so, where was we? Oh, it was here. That will go on there. Okay. And if we didn't have to booster it up, we could have simply, no, not so simply by the sound of it, plop that into there. Would have been lovely, wouldn't it? Like that. Yeah. That would have been absolutely beautiful. But no! We've got to lift it up. Which is ultimately going to be very annoying. So, how do I do this? Do I use these and try and use some of these pin headers onto them? If you know what I mean. Solder the pin headers on there, then put the pin headers into the board. Well, first of all, I need to get the right amount, don't I? So it's a 5 and a 4, isn't it? I've got plenty of pin headers. Is it 5? Yeah, 5 and a 4. I should know after all these years. I could solder the pin headers into there. Will they push in the holes, or are the holes too small? Yeah, well, you'd have thought so, wouldn't you? Well, no, they do go in, but they're not perfectly aligned. I mean, look, they're going in this side. Well, only a few of them are going in. I need to investigate further. And the progress so far is, as you can see, they're very long. But I'm hoping when I push the pin headers in through there, it'll support them on the top end. But I've had to do the bottom because obviously everything in the way is going to get, you know, going to inhibit my access with the soldering iron to solder those pins onto there. Anyway, I've bolted that up ready. I've only got, what, 8 pins left to do. We should be through. So it's a case of just pushing through that hole and supporting. I'll try and get that on camera. That may be a little bit difficult, simply because I don't have the right equipment to support the camera with. Anyway, so these are the pin headers I've been using, and what I'm going to try and do now, obviously, I've got to pull out a few pin headers ready. Literally just pull them out. Well, one there. And I've flicked a fair few on the floor, and I'm not going to hunt for them. But like hunting for a needle in a haystack, I need at least 12. 8 to solder and 4 to lose. I'm getting brave now, I'm putting them out 2 at a time. There we go. I think that should be sufficient. there's my jeweler's loop. So it's just a case of picking one of these up with the tweezers. Hopefully this is going to work well. No, I don't even need the tweezers, to be fair, but I'm going to push it through the hole and it will rest on top like so, which it has done. So as you can see there, I don't know what you can see. There it is, you can see there, I've just pushed it through and I've rested it in like the groove, and now, as long as I don't knock it clear, while it's resting in the groove I can solder it from this side, and as long as I push my solder in the right direction, it's not going to fall out. So you twist it round, get the heat onto the part, and then the solder will flow. There we go, that's on. I'll take a look at that. That's on, that's in line, and that's ready for me to just hold. I mean, it's going to hold it in place for me, so it should be a fairly straightforward job. 7 more to go. I've finished totally soldering them up, and now that they're in place, let me just zoom in a little bit. There we go. As you can see, they're a good edge connection there. Good connection. Got a fixation with edge connections, and the solders come through the board nicely. There's no, as you can see, through the gaps quite cleanly. There's nothing there that's saying I've bridged anything. You can see the board's nicely done. It looks a bit messy this side, but that's because of the side snippers. Just seem to have a problem clipping through those, but as I say, this is going internal, and no one's going to see that as long as it functions. But we've now got those pins in place, and they certainly look better condition well than these pins, which had all pushed out. I mean, they don't look so bad there, but yeah, you can see the way that they was done as well. Just like pieces of metal off them. Well, no need. Yeah, there's the standoffs were longer than I thought. So when I broke them out of this, I thought that's going to be perfect, because there's only a very thin edge there, and of course it's standing off into the actual plate itself, because this is the other bit of the plate that they was riveted into. So hopefully now that'll be a nice fit. I can see there's a bit of a gap. So we've got to be careful when they push down on there, but I can't see that being a problem. I can't see that being a problem, to be honest. There's only the one or two that's got a gap, and the rest look fine. So yeah, that's quite a strong bracket to push down on. All I've got to do now is reassemble it. That's the hard bit. So this behemoth of a jigsaw puzzle is slowly going back together. You have to take that off, and if I realised I took that off before trying to take that off, might have made their life easier. In trying to get that out, I thought all sorts of screws needed to be undone. It was just one there and one here. To get that out, the big transformer itself, there's only one screw holding it in, and it's right underneath all of that. So I've had to take this and that other side to take that out. Wires wrapped round where wires shouldn't be wrapped round. The speaker and those two wires have had to be unplugged in order for me to remove that board, to take this out, to get to the screw that gives me access, which is way down there. Yeah, that locks that into place. And then of course I've rerouted the power leads, of course, back. This you have to see that there. It looks simple, doesn't it? Oh, it's just no. There's like a little clip that points upwards in there, so you have to undo the screws here, 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 and then turn and lift out, and that bar just basically holds everything into place. And in there we go. If you know what I mean. I've rerouted the grey clock signal lead here. I've cleaned up the battery terminals where the inline battery is going to be, and I've put that on for now. I know it does. I know what you say. What's it say on there? Speakers. No. Anyway, I'm using those wires, so that'll be snipped off. Ready for a battery to be fitted away from the board. Okay. Now we're working on the front, and getting all these in wasn't too bad, to be fair, but they look so much better already, don't they? Those screws that are on show will be the ones I'm keeping silver. The more dulled, rusted screws are the ones I'm going to hide inside the case. In case you're wondering, that goes there. So yeah, do not uncover. No, we won't uncover it. I haven't serviced the belt on that, but it seemed to be okay, so I'm not going to touch it. If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. Now all I've got to do really is take this wonderful opportunity to give this a bit of a clean and then put it back on. It's not too dirty. There's just some stains that may not even come out. I've got to put the silver bracket on, which helps click all this together, which are over there. As you can see, that and that corner bracket is the only thing left case wise to do, and we're nearly there, and hopefully we'll have this up and running and being able to play some games on it. Everything's back together and the card's in. We can test the slot. It's a VGA. I've got it wired up, so I've just got to switch that switch on, and hopefully we'll see some. Yep, the lights have all sparked up. No signal as of yet. The signal's kicking up, and oh yes, look. Oh, no volume. No volume. Why is there no volume? Because I haven't turned it up. Oh, you plug the volume in separate, don't you? Well, that picture's amazing. And does it play? Does the joystick ports work? Where's the joystick gone? On the floor, probably, knowing me. Crikey. I'm using a 6-button aftermarket joystick. Yep, the buttons are working great. Oh yeah. Let's have a look. Yes, we've got joystick controls back. Looks up, looks down, a jump. And all I need to do now is put the sound on, and I'll get to play Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, that's a win, and that's a fix, and that's ready for the. I mean, look at that picture. It's arcade disc like. Right, so we press the reset. Oh, it comes up straight away, Sega, doesn't it? Yeah. How do we do this? We unplug the joystick, we unplug the game, I think. Or do we switch it off? We should switch it off, really, shouldn't we? Switch it off. Unplug the game. Ooh. Switch it back on, you'll get nothing, simply because. Yep. Click over to the PC side of things. There we go. Memory battery is dead, but don't worry, we fix that as well. Because I've got a battery on the way and I've got the wires in place. So everything now really should be plug and play. Amstrad Mega PC up and running. Thanks for watching. Retro Robbins.
place in our hearts. From Sinclair to Commodore, where do we start? 8-bit computing in the modern age, where vintage computers take center stage. It's the Retro Robbins Show, Retro Robbins Show. Plug in a joystick and let the good vibes grow. The Retro Robbins Show, go live, subscribe, stay in the know. We've got reviews and gaming vibes. We do upgrades and repairs, all of it live. So come to the channel and just drop in. Take off your hat, let the show begin. Let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go. It's the Retro Robbins Show, Retro Robbins Show. Plug into your computer, let the good vibes grow.